All righty, guys, welcome in here to Slaughterhouse Sports. Spencer G here from the Slaughterhouse Sports. Really fun Thursday night game in the NFL. Thursday night, and it was so newsworthy, we're even going to break it down. And it taught us some really good lessons about clock management. It taught us some lessons overall about the Steelers, a little bit about the Cleveland Browns. It was a really interesting game, especially the fourth quarter. I love the snow element of it. I don't want football to turn into a dome sanitary inside a kind of controlled environment. I like the natural elements of football to be played outside in the cold. AFC North, Steelers, Browns, traditional matchup in the snow, okay, as we get to the winter. That's fun, seeing changing climates and seeing how teams that play in the elements have to build their teams differently and seeing variety in the National Football League. That is what is fun, okay? That's what's fun about watching football played in different regions of the country. So, tonight's game, the Steelers kind of needed this game. If the Steelers are going to go on a run and play in an AFC championship and even sniff a Super Bowl, they're going to need their defense to be playing at home with that home crowd because the quarterbacks that they're going to see in the AFC are exceptional. You got Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert. These are all really, really good quarterbacks that are in the AFC. CJ Stroud. Okay, they all have better passing offenses than you by a large margin. All right, Wilson's been a really good surprise. And again, they got Wilson for Fields for really nothing. And that was great innovation by the Steelers. They were 8-2, finding great ways to win. Special teams, defense, timely offense from the quarterback. Tonight, they almost pulled it off again. Just like in the Redskins game, they were down. Okay, they were down by like 14 points out there at FedEx Field, and they found a way to come back against the Skins and win that game. Okay, and then they had to absolutely exhaust every possible part of their being to defeat Lamar Jackson, and they played on defense a whale of a game against Jackson and the Ravens. And then 3 days rest, they have to go play the Cleveland Browns, and I believe like the Browns, did they go to New Orleans? I think they actually did go to New Orleans the week before. But really for the Browns, this is one of their Super Bowls. I mean, this is a team that has pride. All right, Jameis Winston's a veteran and who's playing really well in only his fourth game. The more games Jameis plays, the more defenses can kind of adjust to the new play caller in Cleveland, Ken Dorsey. Tommy Reese is a guy who really developed Milroe at Alabama, who's on that staff. But you got Jerry Jeudy that you acquired in a trade. He's doing really, really well. And him and Elijah Moore are actually making plays with Njoku. So on paper, the team has guys that can catch the ball and make plays. All right. And tonight was a game in the snow, but still the quarterbacks were able to control the football and actually throw it well in the elements. But I'll tell you, let's go to the game. So, again, tough spot for the Steelers. You know, you could look at 2-8, but this is a division rival, and the Browns, their schedule has just been absolutely a gauntlet. Then they make a quarterback change. Like if the Browns were to play the Giants, the Titans, the Panthers, Raiders, Jaguars, all those teams, even throw in an Indianapolis, I think that the Browns would beat these teams. A large portion of the NFL. I think they're probably like the 13th to 16th team in the NFL. Anyway, Steelers go out there. They're down 18-6. Classic game. They can't score. They finally get a touchdown, a 3-yard Jalen Warren score, and then they get a huge turnover. Then they just make a great play that winning teams do. They get a fumble, and then they hit a long 30-yard touchdown. So they turn the turnover, bam, into a touchdown with Russell Wilson hitting Calvin Austin. Beautiful. So then 2-point play with Cordell Patterson. It kind of looks like he gets held. Actually kind of a bad call on the 2-point play to throw a fade to Patterson. Again, I'm a huge Arthur Smith fan, but some of the plays were not completely ideal in this game. All right. And then the Browns go down the field. The Steelers' pass defense tonight, I think that they were just getting whipped with their pass defense. I think that against man, they were getting picked, and they didn't have great answers against Winston tonight. They looked a step slow, and maybe it's, again, because of the fatigue of playing Washington and playing Baltimore. So then what ended up happening, right? What happened? The Jameis Winston threw a pick. 4 minutes to go. 4-minute offense has to take over for the Steelers. You're up by 1. You get 2 first downs, and the game is over. And you kneel the ball on offense. That is the most important part of this game that we analyze football is a 4-minute drill on offense. That's all that I would want to practice as a coach because that's how you win. Those are what winners do. And what ended up happening, you have a really good run by Najee Harris. You do a play action, it doesn't work. And then you have a really good run with Harris that was tough with Fields in the game. Then you keep Fields in for 3rd and 4. No real play action, straight drop back pass. And again, like the weapons here, you don't really have a second receiver. I know you're trying to put Mike Williams and Van Jefferson out there. You needed like Freiermuth for somebody to get open. You needed a high percentage throw, either Justin or it was a bad call by Arthur Smith. They throw the one-on-one down the sideline. It's the wrong time for that. It's a low percentage play. Any other point in the game, it's a totally fine play call. But there you need the 5 yards to get the win. The Browns do a good job of being man-to-man maybe in that scenario. Maybe you want to roll Fields out. It was a bad call, and it was a shame. And then the punt was a shank by a pretty good punter on the Steelers. And in the cold, it just was poorly executed, and that's going to lose you games. That can kind of be a death knell for your team. But then you kind of get a little bit of a break. You know, you get a really good pass rush by your defense. The Browns are kind of in field goal range, but it's with Hopkins, who's a little bit older, and with the snow, it would have been a 48-yarder. But here Mike Tomlin messed up the game. 3rd and 2. Winston dropped back to the pass on like the 32-yard line. It would be a 42-yard field goal. The time in the game is about like 1 minute and 50 seconds left. And the Browns are down by 1 at this point. Winston drop backs the pass, gets pressured, throws it at the line of scrimmage. It's not intentional grounding, but it's an illegal touching, which it looked like the ball didn't get back to the line of scrimmage. So then Tomlin, he probably assumes here, and he's not perfect. He's a very good coach, but even he had a tough moment tonight. He assumed probably it was a loss of down. All right, decline the penalty, make it a longer field goal. Or he had so much confidence that Hopkins couldn't make a 48-yard field goal, or he had so much confidence in getting a stop, he decided to accept the penalty. But not only did he accept the penalty, which I vehemently disagree with, he also decided to take a timeout. He took a timeout for absolutely no reason at all. No reason at all. It wasn't like the Steelers even had like 12 guys on the field. It wasn't like it was a Hail Mary situation. The timeout is indefensible because say it's an incomplete pass, all right, say Cleveland makes that 48-yard field goal. You don't have the timeout on the other side. The clock is stopped already. You don't need any reason to take that timeout. Then to make matters worse, you get absolutely burned and the game essentially ends on this Jerry Jeudy out route that gains 20 yards. All right. Then the Browns stupidly don't kneel it. They go out and score, and maybe they're so concerned about the weather and kicking a 10-yard field goal. But when the Browns essentially hit that 20-yard pass and the Steelers exhausted their timeouts, they could have wound the clock all the way down, ends up Hail Mary, and they bat the ball down, and the Browns end up winning. They let Chubb score. But Tomlin, terrible clock management, because on 4th and 2, you should have declined the penalty of that 5-yard penalty, which meant nothing, and you should have made them kick that 42-yarder, okay? And because on 3rd and 7, it's not like you're passing defense. The Browns were already 4 for 4 on 4th down conversions. Winston was 18 of 27 throwing the ball, and he was throwing it at an explosive rate for about 210 yards for 18 completions is a damn high completion percentage. And also the Browns dropped a couple of passes. So it wasn't feeling the game, and usually Tomlin's excellent at this strategy. And tonight, it just wasn't his night. And that's going to happen. But unfortunately, we got to call it how it is. And Tomlin, again, is as bright of a football mind as any of us probably watching this show. I mean, the guy's been doing this in the NFL. He's a Hall of Famer, most likely. And he's brilliant in so many ways. And tonight, he just had a very poor fourth quarter. He had a poorly coached game. Even Arthur throwing that lob to Patterson in the 2-minute warning. So, or for the 2-point play. Disappointing game. Stings even more because you had that brilliant surge in the fourth quarter of those like 2 touchdowns there. There's 13 points in about a minute. Because 18-6 was texting people who love the Steelers like this game is over. And man, it's just a dagger to lose that game. Very tough. But now it's really a dagger because you play in the AFC. So rank the quarterbacks. Quarterback is so important in football in the NFL. Rank quarterback. You're doing the best with Wilson and Fields. Arthur and this offense, like you're doing really well to be at 8-3. All right. And it's not like the New York Giants or the Titans or anybody else found the way that, that the GM did of the Steelers, that I think it's Omar Khan, that he and Tomlin, and Arthur Smith, like it's really been working. So they beat Baltimore. They beat the Skins, like I said. They have some really big wins on the year, like the Chargers at home, the Jets, Giants. Like they were on a roll. You're 8-2 for a reason. But now, we look at the schedule, and, I mean, if they don't get home field, because in the playoffs, they're not going to have the better passing offense than all these other teams. So you're going to be facing a Herbert. You're going to be facing, who knows if Cincy's going to be in it, but maybe Bo Nix or Denver. But you're likely going to be facing Stroud or the Ravens, and you might even have to go on the road. So then your chances of winning a Super Bowl with this game, losing this game, if you were to win this game, you get to 9-2, and then if crazy things happen, like maybe you can compete for the 1 seed, but that was pretty much the only avenue in which the Steelers were, I think, going to go to the Super Bowl. Because do you really see them winning 3 playoff games to get to New Orleans, to get to the Super Bowl? Do you see them winning if they're the 2 seed, well, now we have Buffalo, and Buffalo's playing damn well. Houston Texans. The Ravens are now back in the picture. And the Steelers' schedule is brutal. The Eagles are really good. They play the Eagles. They play the Baltimore Ravens. You got 2 games against the Cincinnati Bengals, including a game in which the Bengals have a bye, and they're going to be at home. And Joe Burrow at home, you're going to have to somehow defend Joe Burrow in this passing game. And maybe you can do it. That's the special part about the Steelers is they'll be motivated. That's kind of the game of the year. Because if they win that game, then they're going to be favored against the Browns, which at home, I expect revenge spot. I expect the Steelers to do well at home and win that game. They'll be favored by about 5 or 6. All right? Steelers can then get to 10-3. Then they got the Eagles. Then they got at the Ravens, at the Eagles in Kansas City, before playing the Bengals again. But the Bengals might be done. So hopefully the Bengals are done and resting the starters. That's going to be interesting the last game of the year. The best you can hope for along this stretch is 3-3. Let's map that out. Probably sweeping Cincinnati. Probably sweeping Cincy and beating the Browns is your only way to 3-3. If they beat Baltimore or Philly or Kansas City, they're going to be big underdogs in those games. The best chance that they have to actually win those games, if you had to pick one game that you had to win, it might be that home game against Kansas City, against Mahomes, because you're going to have the crowd, you're going to have the defense there. Going to Baltimore, and Baltimore in a revenge spot, and then Philly's been a house of horrors for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And you're going against Barkley, A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts. The Eagles are one of the best teams in the NFC. The Eagles are right there with the Lions as a chance to, get to a Super Bowl themselves and be an NFC championship club or in the NFC championship. So the schedule gets brutal. It's tough. I believe that now the Bills or Kansas City, if they get the 1 seed, and then Pittsburgh's going to have to win 2 games in the playoffs. And the Steelers, by that point, we're not going to get a bye, the Steelers, and they're going to be exhausted. And I don't know if the defense will survive, and I don't know if the offense can rescue the defense. So if they won the game tonight, there was a crazy – for them to thread the needle with Wilson and Fields quarterbacking this team, it would have to be a committee by approach, and they'd have to get home field because home field in the NFL is almost everything. You know, you get two home games then to go to the Super Bowl. You could the Pittsburgh Steelers, if they had the 1 seed, could realistically at Heinz Field, they can realistically turn up and play defense in an impeccable way and could string together 120 minutes of absolute sound football, make it 180. They can actually do 3 games of incredible football in those environments and actually win a ring. But the odds of them now getting the 1 seed, we could live in a world where Cincy beats Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh then is 8-4. They beat the Browns to go to 9-4. Then you look at the Ravens, probably a loss, 9-5. Eagles, 9-6. Cincinnati, 9-7. Kansas City, 9-7. This team could really be 10-7. You're really flirting with missing the whole postseason after what an incredible start. So that's how the margins now with the schedule. It's just very tough. It's a tough, the AFC is going to be tough. The defense is really good. You want to see Watt and Tomlin. I want to see Tomlin. I want to see this team really make a run in the playoffs because a lot of NFL teams, it's like, let's just get the ball in our quarterback's hands and let's just see that quarterback be spectacular. The Steelers have a complete team, their special teams is involved. The defense is really cohesive. They play a complete brand. They're a full team that wins in a variety. When you turn on a Steelers game, you don't know if they're going to win 24-20 or are they going to win 16-13. You don't know who's going to be the hero. So that's kind of a fun team. Whereas you have Kansas City or you have Baltimore and Buffalo, they're just going to roll with just their quarterback being that much better than all the other players. The Steelers play more of a teamwork style, and it's been a while since the Steelers have been a factor in the playoffs. And I want to see this with Wilson and Fields, Arthur Smith, much maligned offensive personnel and coaching staff. I really want to see the Steelers make a run. So tonight's game hurts, but maybe they can beat the Bengals next week, find some wins against the AFC North. And wild game tonight for sure. Let me know what you guys think. Boy, this video actually went pretty long. I really got in, I guess, to the subject matter of the Steelers. Alrighty, here we go.